What's going on, everyone? Sal here. I want to thank you for joining me. And ladies and gentlemen, we've all seen, those of you guys who watch the markets, what's happened with Netflix after hours. Let's just jump right into it. I can't help but look at the day trading chart and see that somebody got the drop on Netflix. Like, it's very clear when you look at this chart, somebody got the drop that Netflix was going to miss, and they got out last week. They got out last week. And, I know some of you guys hate it when I talk about that, the market is rigged and whatnot, but it's just so clear that somebody found out that Netflix wasn't going to beat, and they sold large stakes throughout the day on Friday. And it's so disappointing because when I look at today on blackboxtrader.org, you see that today's top calls of the day was Netflix. Nearly $4 million worth of calls were bought on Netflix today. People were expecting this stock to go nearly 10%, possibly 6 to 10% today. 6 to 10% today on a positive move. And to say that you didn't expect a positive move on Netflix would be lying, because the majority of the street expected a positive move. Even though, yes, they were some analysts who came out with a sell rating, but the sell rating wasn't based on them missing today's earnings. All right. I believe that number was already out there. I believe there's some people on the street who had the number beforehand. But I understand that the SEC won't investigate because, they protect who. With that being said, if we look at right now where we stand after hours, huge L for Netflix call holders, Netflix stock owners. Obviously, if you're selling the 400 or anything above it, ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching to you. But for those of you guys who bought a shitload of calls going into it, I think you take your L here and keep it moving in the short term. Look, you're going to get a bounce off these low RSI levels, right? There are going to be some guys who would come here in the morning and buy you up a little higher, so you don't have to necessarily sell at the low. You might be able to get at least a couple dollars bounce, especially out of those, those low 340s levels. I think you can possibly, maybe if you're lucky, God willing, you can get back into the 350s. I don't see why not, because the miss, although was bad, it wasn't that bad, right? It wasn't that bad. Shout out to the put buyers. We had some put buyers. Netflix third on the list on the put buyers. So obviously the momentum was to the call side, but we had some guys who bought puts. So nearly $2 million worth of puts were either bought or sold on Netflix today. So with that being said, again, the long-term picture for the Bulls, I still think makes a lot of sense. Right? If we look at the long-term picture for the Bulls, it still makes a lot of sense. The fact that, what Netflix is offering to many of these people in developing nations is something they've never had before, right? And the offerings just make so much sense. But the problem is that the margins for Netflix still isn't there. And the streaming technology necessary for those individuals to really take advantage of what Netflix provides isn't there either. For example, a country like South Africa, Netflix is in that country, and, data is so expensive in South Africa that it's really for the privileged few to be able to use Netflix the way it really is supposed to be used. Again, devastating news for Netflix. I don't think it's a buy here. If you're in it, you take an L and just kind of move on. Across the board, FANG was affected. What was an interesting stock that got, dragged into this, you can't help but see, was NVIDIA rather. Now, here's the thing about NVIDIA. And some people may say it's part of FANG. Some people may say it's not. Whatever. I just say that this is an opportunity for you to buy here. And I'll probably make a separate video about that going into earnings, because this is a really exciting company that's doing some game-changing stuff right now. Different line of business than Netflix, and I think it's a little bit more, maybe even better upside moving forward. NVIDIA, very interesting stock to take a look at. With that being said, this is Sal. I am the Time Trader. I'm out. Take care.